name is Tanner Simeon Cox. I am the Colorado Program Director for Solar United Neighbors. I also have my colleague, Vincent Jerkovich, who's on. He is one of our Go Solar specialists, so he will be in the chat, able to answer questions throughout the presentation. Want to be respectful of your all's time, so going to do the best to get to all of the questions, but if we are not able to, we can review those and work on getting some answers. But thank you all for being here. Really excited for this presentation, really excited for this co-op. Our first event back in December was a huge success. We had over 100 folks come out to the Broomfield Community Center for the launch. And it's really exciting whenever we go into a new area and see that there's a definite appetite for our co-ops. So with that being said, gonna do just a couple of housekeeping things. So go ahead, join audio, whatever is most comfortable for you. You will know what that is. If you have any technical difficulties, let us know in the chat so we can try and help resolve that for you, or with you rather. Also submit any other questions that you have in the chat. As I mentioned, Vincent is going to be there helping answer those. And then finally, this webinar is being recorded. So if you have to hop off at any point, we're going to be sharing the link out, and then also hoping to post it on our co-op website. Want to give a quick shout out to the awesome partners that are working with us on this co-op. Primarily the city and county of Broomfield has been doing an incredible job at helping orchestrate this whole initiative and being sure that the word is getting out. So shout out to the city and county and also all of the other awesome organizations you can see here. To get us started for the night, I am going to give a little bit of an overview of who we are as an organization. So as I mentioned, we're Solar United Neighbors. We are a vendor neutral national 501c3 nonprofit. That is a bunch of fun words and tax code that's on there, but simplified, we are here to help empower you all, our co-op members, to make the decision that is best for you and your family around going solar. We maintain vendor neutrality with installers, financing products, everything like that, just to be sure that our co-ops are led by you, and to be sure that we're building a healthy network and solar economy in the state of Colorado and across the country. Our theory of change and really how we approach this work is threefold. So the start of what we do is helping folks go solar. And this is our co-op model. So we go into a neighborhood, we go into a city or a county, and we find a bunch of folks that are interested in going solar and either haven't had the chance to yet or looking to learn more, or looking for any other sort of benefit that we'll get into later. And we help you all go solar through events like this, through our selection committee, which we'll get into in a little bit, and connecting you with the appropriate installation company, so on and so forth. After that, we join together. So this also happens in a variety of ways. It could look like a resource fair where we're out tabling and just meeting people in the community and hearing stories and learning what's important to folks. Or it could be a happy hour at a solar powered brewery, or any number of things where we can just come together, learn about each other, hear each other's stories, and really grow as a community. And then the movement of all of this leads to fighting for energy rights. That could look like the hyperlocal of representing solar owners in their HOAs and helping folks navigate tricky situations. Or it could be all the way up to the federal level if people are interested. And that looks like last year's fight for the Inflation Reduction Act, which was a huge success. And so all of this kind of works in our ecosystem and theory of change of how we go about doing this work. Our organization got started in 2007. You can see our executive director, Anya Schoolman there. Her son, Walter, and his friend, Diego, decided that they wanted to find a way to take climate action of some sort. And as a family, they decided that installing solar was the best bet for them. As they got into the process, they realized how tricky and complicated it was, and were trying to put together spreadsheets to review bids and this, that, and the other, and decided that it might be more beneficial to go about it as a community. So they started going around to their neighbors, and after a little while, they had brought together 50 households that were interested in going solar. And over the course of a couple of years, they worked through all of the fine details and organized the first co-op to go to local installers to solicit a group buy bid. And after that period, these folks were actually able to install their solar panels and bring to completion our first co-op. Since then, we have grown to now having members in all 50 states, and we've run over 325 co-ops, and we have over 50 staff that are supported by a network of about 500,000 people. Nationally, you can kind of take a look at these numbers. I'm actually going to move forward to our Colorado impact because I think that that's more pertinent to tonight's conversation. You can see here that we've done a lot of awesome work since launching the program in 2019. Just in these past, 4 years now, we've been able to help 431 folks go solar, installing 2.7 megawatts of solar capacity, investing $9.1 million into the local solar economy, and helping folks save $13.7 million over the course of the next 25 years. All of that has also resulted in 45 solar jobs being created by the work that's generated through our co-ops, and about 58,000 pushing 59,000 metric tons of lifetime CO2 equivalent offsets. And then finally, just a last piece about our organization. We have a commitment to work for equity and really create a new energy system that benefits everyone, right? And if you hear us talk, you hear us say things like energy democracy and being sure that families that either historically haven't had the chance or just looking to create a healthier environment around them. We want to be sure that they have the opportunity, that everyone has the opportunity to pursue solar installation equally. For tonight's presentation, we're going to cover three main points, which are solar technology, solar economics, and how our solar co-ops work. The presentation is really front-loaded, so the bulkiest portion of what we're going to cover is in the solar technology. Again, this is a Solar 101, so we're really starting at a foundational level and working from there, because I'm sure all of us are coming to this event tonight at a different place and want to be sure that we cover the basics for everyone. So to get us started with solar technology, again, starting very simply, solar photovoltaic or PV converts solar energy into electricity. So that word photovoltaic is actually two words that have been combined, photo meaning light and voltaic meaning power. And so whenever we're talking about PV, it is the process of our solar panels converting the energy from the sun into electricity to be used by our homes. Next, we have some key terms that we want to cover. So getting us started, we have kilowatts and kilowatt hours. I've heard a helpful way to kind of keep in mind the difference between these two things is using an analogy in relation to vehicles. So kilowatts closely related to horsepower, which is sort of the maximum potential of, for horsepower, your vehicle, for kilowatts, your solar system. And then kilowatt hours is actually how we measure the efficiency, the production, and that can be closely related to miles per gallon. So how efficient is your car consuming gas? And then how efficiently is your solar system producing electricity? In our example here, we can see that there's a 3 kilowatt solar panel array that is using 10 300-watt panels. So again, 3 kilowatts, that means that is the actual size, the maximum potential and capacity of the system. If you think about when the system is producing energy or electricity most efficiently, that's whenever we're going to start referring to kilowatt hours, right? So with the 3 kilowatt system, over the course of 2 sunny, not a cloud in the sky hours on a nice summer afternoon, you're going to see about 6 kilowatt hours of production. And that will be the measurement of how efficiently your system is producing electricity. Some more important terms are racking. So this is the mechanism by which you attach the solar system to your roof. As you can see here on a standard asphalt shingle roof, there are penetrations that go into the roof, and then the solar panels are mounted to those. If you have a metal roof, oftentimes you actually don't even have to have the penetrations. They can attach the solar system to your roof without doing so. If neither of those, if roof installation for whatever reason is not a good option for you, and you happen to have some extra space in either a field adjacent to your house or whatever that looks like, you can look into ground mounted solar. That is a thing that plenty of installers do, but again, that will be an individual conversation, an individual decision that you're able to make with the installer when the time comes. Next, we have the inverters. So there are a couple of different kinds. You can see the string inverter here is sort of a centralized location where the electricity that is produced from your solar system is converted from a direct current to an alternating current. That is because whenever your solar system produces electricity, it is in DC, but in order for your house to actually use it, it needs to be converted to AC. And the inverter is our friend who does that work. We're seeing in a lot of instances that the industry is actually moving towards microinverters. And there are a lot of benefits to microinverters. And the way they work is, instead of, compared to a string inverter that is in one central location, the microinverters are installed at every junction on your solar system. These are beneficial if you are, looking to potentially expand your solar system into the future. They offer a lot of flexibility. And again, this will be a conversation that you can have with your installer when the time comes. Next, we have the electrical panel, which is the next stop after the electricity is converted from DC to AC. This is where the electricity goes if it's going to be used by your house. If you're installing solar, it is most often a simple connection into the panel. And most homes do not need electrical system upgrades before going solar. I will say that in some instances, if you have an older home, or if you're anticipating a significant increase if you're looking to do other electrification projects, you might need to consider a panel upgrade, but that will be a conversation you have with your installer, and they'll let you know if any new upgrades are necessary. And this is kind of just a helpful graphic to review everything that we just mentioned. So again, you have at the very top the solar array or solar system. This is comprised of the individual solar panels, and those individual solar panels are comprised of distinct solar cells. And those solar cells do the job of converting the sun's energy into electricity. After that is done, again, it travels direct current to the inverter, where it's converted into an alternating current, and then it makes its way to the electrical panel. If there is a current energy demand as you're producing electricity from your solar array, that electricity will be used by whatever the demand is. So be it lights in your house, if you're charging an EV, if you're running laundry, doing the dishwasher, the electricity that you're producing will first go to your home. You have any excess, it will be pumped through your utility meter and back onto the grid, which brings us to an important topic of net metering. So net metering is the idea that you receive a one-for-one credit for the energy that you're producing when compared to the energy that you're consuming from the grid. So if you've looked at your electric bill, I think this is just fresh top of mind because I was looking at Excel's time of use rates. But for Excel time of use, over the summer peak hours, you're getting charged, I think it's 28 cents per kilowatt hour that you're consuming from the grid. In net metering, during those same hours, what net metering means is that you're also being credited that 28 cents per kilowatt hour for energy that you're putting back onto the grid that you are not using in your house. If you remember, can think of, analog meters, it's basically just the idea of making the meter spin backwards. And a quick example of what an electrical bill could look like with net metering. So you're going to see at the very top the electricity that you bought from the grid. So in this example, it's 300 kilowatt hours. Subtracted from that is going to be the amount that you exported from your solar system. And in this example, we have 200 kilowatt hours. And then the final amount is what you're going to actually pay on your bill. So whenever we subtract that out, you're left with 100 kilowatt hours that you're actually going to be billed for. A couple of important notes is that your bill will have a service fee or connection fee. The terminology is different. But what that is basically a fee that you pay each month that you can think of it as using the grid as your backup battery. So if there's ever an instance that you are not producing enough electricity to meet your energy demands, you're purchasing electricity from the grid, and you have that connection fee just to be sure that that is in place. And also, final note on this is that most electric bills are actually not going to reflect your self-usage. They're just going to show what you exported back to the grid. So now we are going to get into a little bit of a conversation about something that we do whenever you join the co-op. And for some of you that have already joined, this is going to be familiar to you probably, but we do a roof review for all of our members. And we check these three major things. So the first is roof orientation, just being sure that the direction your roof is facing is appropriate to install solar panels. Really, north-facing roofs are what we would consider not adequate for installing solar, just because the lack of sunlight over the course of the year might not reach what you're wanting it to. Second thing we'll look for is little to no shading. So this could be from trees, this could be tall buildings around you. Things that you want to consider as you're installing solar panels is just being sure that there's nothing that's going to be blocking the sun from actually reaching your system. And then the third thing we look for is being sure that there's enough space to mount the panels on your roof. And we look for about 200 square feet across the entirety of your roof in order to categorize that as sufficient space for installing solar. Next, we have a little bit about community solar. So some of you may be familiar with this. This is distinct from installing solar panels on your roof, but if for whatever reason doing rooftop solar does not make sense for you, if it either doesn't fit into your plans for your household or any other reason that you're unable to install, community solar is a good alternative if you're still looking to use clean and renewable energy as your primary source. The way these projects work is that you as an individual, as a household, will subscribe to a community solar project that is near you, and you'll typically pay a monthly fee in order to participate. The garden, the community solar garden, is typically located somewhere in your utility area, and that is producing clean energy that is sent directly to the grid. Every household's demand is different, again, so your share that you buy might look different from your neighbor, it might look different from the corner store, it might look different from a local school if that local school is deciding to buy into a community solar project. All of these will vary. And then finally, the utility company distributes that electricity to its customers and gives you, the subscriber, a credit for your share of the energy on your electric bill. One note on this, there is a lot of supplemental resources for low to moderate income families whenever it comes to community solar. But oftentimes we do still see this as a sort of specialized project that is not going to save you as much money over time as installing rooftop solar does. So again, that's just a consideration for you to take into account whenever you're thinking of all your different options. If it is something that is of interest to you, you can head over to our website, cs.solarunitedneighbors.org, and take a look at some of the different community solar offerings in our area. As you can see in the example here, you can really refine it to your state and utility and see if anything is available for you. The next thing that we're going to talk about that is available in most of our co-ops is battery storage. So the function of battery storage is having a backup source of power in case the power goes out is the primary reason. And then also it can help to make up for any time, as I was mentioning earlier, where your system isn't producing at max capacity, or if there are any other issues that you're needing to cover an extra energy demand. But batteries really shine in cases of power outages, because when the grid goes down, your solar system is shut off as well. And as it says here on the slide, it's a safety mechanism to be sure that the folks out working on the grid and trying to restore power are protected throughout the entire duration of the outage. If you're wanting to continue producing electricity in a power outage, you will need battery backup in order to do so. We like to note that this might be a consideration for you if you do experience frequent utility outages, or if you have things at home that you just don't want to shut off in the case of a power outage. So that could be well pumps and medical equipment are two of the primary things that we see. And then finally, just general emergency and disaster preparedness. It's helpful to have battery storage as an option in the case of any type of emergency. Final note on this is that just the way the market currently is, batteries are still a fairly boutique and specialty project, which does drive the cost higher than just solar panels. So if you're looking to install batteries just to save money or get paid to help the grid, it is not the most viable option at the moment. And again, if you're looking for more information on this, you can go to our website, solarunitedneighbors.org/storage. Then the final component that most of our co-ops are able to accommodate are EV chargers. So if you are interested in installing an EV charger, you're most likely going to be looking at a level 2 charger, which is 240 volt outlet, which is a step up from just your standard wall outlet. It has charging speeds up to 6 times as fast as the standard outlet, and you're going to be looking at 10 to 30 miles of charge per hour. The typical warranty on these is about 3 years. A few things to consider if you are looking to install an EV charger. Very simply, the question of where. Do you want it to be an interior wall or an exterior wall? Are you looking to have a wall mount or a pedestal? Like I mentioned earlier, whenever you're looking at your electrical panel, conversation you'll have with your installer, you want to be sure that you have about 30 to 50 amps available in order to actually install an EV charger. There are other considerations. So there are some products like the Solar Edge inverter and charger combo that is a single site that has your solar inverter that we mentioned earlier, as well as an EV charger that is connected to it. That will be, once the co-op selects an installer, those sorts of products, they'll clarify whether they have them or not. And then finally, looking at network capability, cord length, and public access. These are considerations if you want your charging station to be available to the public, to see if there are any possible rebates that you can access or anything like that as well. And finally, here you can just take a quick glimpse at the cost. Total cost on these project ranges from anywhere to $1,000 to $2,700. To end our solar technology section, we have a few frequently asked questions that we often get. So starting with warranties, we like to mention that there are 3 standard warranties that come with a solar array installation. The first is a manufacturer's warranty, which covers the product itself, so your solar panels and anything that goes along with the system. Typically, you'll know if there are any issues with the product in the first few months of ownership, and you'll be able to utilize the manufacturer's warranty. Second one that we see is the workmanship warranty, which comes from the installer, which is helpful to have because they're going to be on your roof doing the penetrations and getting the racking set up and doing the whole installation. And the workmanship warranties will cover that work. And then finally, we see power production warranties, which is a guarantee that typically over the course of 20-25 years, it's guaranteeing that your system will maintain at least 80% efficiency. There are give and take in those numbers, but that is sort of the standard. Homeowners insurance, again, this will be more of an individualized conversation for you and your household. There are a lot of factors that come into play when considering insurance, and we would recommend, if this is something that you're serious about, that you just give your insurance company a call and have that discussion as soon as possible. Anecdotally, one of my former coworkers, he installed solar on a detached garage, so it was not on his main house structure, and his insurance only went up by, I think, about $1 per month, so it wasn't significant. But again, that is not a guarantee that your insurance will only go up $1 per month, but it's something that you should make a call and have that conversation as soon as you're able to. For maintenance, solar panels were meant to be really easily maintained. They're self-cleaning for the most part with standard cycles of rain. If there's ever an instance where it's been a long time without rain and you're noticing maybe slightly decreased efficiency from your system, or if you look up and you notice there's dust on them, or in our case, if there are wildfires and there's a lot of soot in the air, it's very easy to just take a water hose and rinse them off. It doesn't take a lot of specialty products to clean your solar panels. With how long systems last, again, I mentioned the power production warranty. They're really meant to last a lifetime. They're guaranteed through the warranty production over the course of 20-25 years. But we have met people who installed systems in the 70s, and they're still plugging along just fine. So they are really meant to be a lifetime investment. Will HOAs allow solar on your home? Is a question we get frequently. In the state of Colorado, HOAs are not allowed to prevent you from installing solar, but they could have a say as to where the solar system goes on your home. So as I mentioned at the top, that is something that we're here to support you through. You'll see our Colorado team email address at the end. So if you ever run into any of those issues, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to work with you on that. To save time, I'll just say similar on historic district. If you live in a historic district and you run into any issues, feel free to reach out to us, but that is not a case we see a lot of. And then finally, for hail and snow, tell a story. I always forget the date. I think it was 2017 was Colorado's most expensive natural disaster in state history, massive hailstorm that hit Golden. The National Renewable Energies Lab is in Golden, and they have a solar farm with about 3,000 panels. After that hailstorm, they only had to replace a single panel. So these are meant to be resilient, they're meant to be durable, and they're meant to last for a very long time. Only consideration with snow is just be aware of where your solar system is. They do shed snow whenever they start to heat up with that first little bit of sun after a storm. So just pay attention, be sure if you're out walking in the driveway, you're not suddenly going to get a bunch of snow dumped on your head. So our next section for the night is solar economics. Good news, the price of solar has dropped significantly since 2010, and you can see even more so since the 70s there. It's not considered a specialty or boutique project anymore, but really has an excellent return on investment, especially if you qualify for the 30% federal tax credit. Looking at a little bit of how solar costs work, and also speaking a little bit to our function as a co-op, you can see the breakdown here. So the system components there in the yellow, all of these have dropped incredibly since 2010. But what has remained the highest is the soft costs. So for an installer, that looks like going out into the community, finding folks that are interested in going solar, doing the work of creating a sale with those people, doing the education that comes along with learning about solar and how the installation process happens. Those costs still remain very high for installation companies. As a nonprofit, we are able to step in and do a lot of that work before the installer interacts with you as an individual. So we are here in events like tonight, doing outreach, doing education, bringing folks up to speed, and then making the appropriate connections with installers in the community through our selection committee process, which I'll dig into in a little bit. Looking really quickly, as I mentioned earlier, about Excel's time of use rates. So Excel is implementing this new rate across its territory. It is unrolling gradually throughout the state, but the breakdown is that the price per kilowatt hour is going to depend on the time of day and also the season. So there are 3 distinct times of day that Excel breaks their time of use fees into. That is off-peak, shoulder, and on-peak. And then 2 seasons, summer, winter, we'll divvy up how those rates are being charged. I'm going to show you a graph in just a moment to explain that even further. With net metering and this rate, the value of your solar energy will vary along with the cost of utility electricity, which I mentioned earlier in the meeting. Finally, battery storage can help you store energy to use when purchasing electricity is more expensive. But again, that will be a conversation that you can have with your family and also with us if you have any questions. So here's that graph that I was talking about. You can see really quickly the breakdown between the off-peak and on-peak hours and the different seasons. So at the very bottom, you see that between summer and winter, the rates are actually the same for off-peak hours, but then they differ between shoulder and on-peak. And between the 2 seasons, you could see a difference of 1.7 times the cost between off-peak and on-peak hours for the winter, or 2.8 times the cost for summer. One thing that we like to show folks whenever we're discussing these time of use rates is just this helpful little graphic that kind of shows not only what time of use looks like on a day-to-day basis, but also helps you think through different ways to use electricity considering time of use rates. So thinking through during the off-peak hours doing higher demand things like charging your EV, running laundry, running heat, running AC. And then as you're able to, in the afternoons, opening your windows and trying to take in natural light and leave the lights off and do lower demand things in your house during the afternoon when rates are the highest. Because the added benefit of that is that that is also the time when your solar system is going to be most efficiently producing energy. We have a couple of graphs here that run through example pricing between Excel and United Power. A couple of things that I'm going to focus on in this first one is these first two slides are going to be imagining a cash purchase. And the net cost you can see here between a 4 kilowatt system and an 8 kilowatt system after the 30% tax credit is between $9,100 and $18,200. What is most helpful to see is really the estimated lifetime savings and then payback period. So for a 4 kilowatt system, you're looking at 9.5 years of payback. And then 8 kilowatt system, you're looking at about 11.9 years. I do want to make a quick note about the 30% federal income tax credit. So that credit is currently non-refundable. It doesn't have a direct pay to you option, which does mean if your tax burden at the end of the year is less than the 30% tax credit, then you're not going to be able to cash that extra money out to have in your pocket. One of the benefits, though, is that you can roll it over into sequential years. So if you don't use all of it the first year after your installation, you can roll it over into the following year. And then for the sample cash purchase through United Power, you can see that the payback period here for a 3.2 kilowatt system is 12.4 to 12.9 years. And then for a 6.4 kilowatt system, it's 12.9 to 13.7 years. Again, quick notes about these slides is that these are examples only. Your specific project and your specific needs are going to be different depending on your energy demand. Looking at financing, so you can see the breakdown here, and if you're wanting to review this on your own, all of these graphs are available on the co-op website. You can quickly review the payback periods here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these just because they are available elsewhere, but wanted to demonstrate the Excel example as well as the United Power example just for you to have handy. If you are looking at financing your system, there are a few different options. So first one is loans. If you're interested in learning more about national and local options, you can go to our website at solarunitedneighbors.org/financing. Your installer, whatever installer is selected to serve this co-op will also be able to connect you with different resources. And if you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Second option is third-party ownership. So this is power purchase agreements and leases. In these models, you will have a solar system on your roof, but you will not actually be the owner of the system. These can work out for you in some instances, and we don't discourage folks from using a leasing model, but we do like to flag that it's important just to read the fine print on these, because there are a lot of things out there that are like $0 down for a solar installation or free solar installation, and they're typically these power purchase agreements or leasing models where you don't actually own the system, and there is a chance that you could end up paying more over time than you would through owning your system. So again, don't discourage folks from looking into these, but we do recommend reading the fine print and just being sure that it makes sense for your household. If you're considering one of these models, reach out and we're happy to review it with you. And then finally, there are grants available like the USDA's Rural Energy for America program. I cannot remember off the top of my head, and maybe if any of our Broomfield colleagues are on, you can let us know if there's any areas in Broomfield that would qualify for this. But these are typically for agricultural installations that are larger in scale, that are covering different projects. Now we are going to close out our presentation with how our co-ops work. There are a lot of benefits in joining our co-op. So a lot of the time you're going to see the best value on installation because you're approaching installers with 150, 200 of your neighbors all trying to go solar at one time. So we do see a lot of value through that process. And then you're going to receive support from us throughout the entire duration of the co-op, and also even after that. Whenever you join and become a member and go solar through us, we're always going to be around to provide support. So if you have any questions, even after the co-op is closed, after you've had your installation for 1 year, 2 year, we're still going to be around to support you and help you address any concerns or needs that you have. Then finally, you get to connect with other folks that are passionate about the same thing you're passionate about and become a part of a growing solar movement. Colorado right now is ripe for a lot of exciting things for solar, and it's a really exciting time to join this movement in this state. As far as outlining our entire process from sort of start to finish, we ideally like to do this in 4 to 8 months. I do want to be clear that with current supply chain issues, other things like that, we are seeing that deadline extended. We won't 100% know installation timelines for this particular co-op until an installer is selected. But I did just want to make that quick caveat at the top, just so there isn't any confusion if this gets drawn out past the 8-month mark. But you can see the flow of what we do here. So in the first couple of months, it's where we're at right now, we come together and we learn and we sign up for the co-op and we invite our friends, our family, our neighbors to join. It's completely free. There is no obligation to go solar whenever you become a member. You can back out at any time, but it is a great opportunity just to connect with folks and learn more about what this process looks like. Step 4, which is happening a little bit earlier for us, is we select an installer. So typically when the co-op reaches 30 members, we issue a competitive RFP to local installers. Broomfield, you all are awesome, because I think it was before the first month was up, we had over 100 members. So we're like way ahead of the curve. But this process is actively happening right now. And soon you're going to be getting an email from us if you are a member asking you to be a part of the selection committee. Whenever we host the selection committee, we will come together in a smaller group, a slightly more informal, so we can have an actual conversation, and we will have a spreadsheet where we've compiled all of the different bids from the different installers, and we'll review that together, from the dollar per watt offering to the different components that the installer has available, be it batteries, EV chargers, etc. We'll take a look at those together. And then you all, as our members, will be able to vote on the installer that you feel like best serves the needs of this particular co-op. After that, we have the sign-up deadline, which I do want to mention that our membership sign-up will be at least temporarily closing on February 1st, just because we've seen such incredible success out of this co-op that we're having to start sending folks to our wait list until an installer is selected, just because of capacity, supply chain issues that I mentioned. We want to be sure that the installer is able to serve the entirety of the co-op. If it is past February 1st, you're still interested to sign up, I would recommend that you still do it. You'll be able to go to our website, hop on our wait list, And that will give you priority should the co-op open back up. You'll be among the first folks that are drawn back up onto the list. So still a lot of value in joining the wait list even after that February 1st mark. Afterwards, we will work with the installer to be sure that they're getting the proposals out to all of you, which is our co-op pricing that is customized specifically for your household and your needs. After that, you'll be able to sign a contract if you decide to, and then work on the installation timeline with your installer. And then after all of this is said and done, we're able to come together and throw a party and celebrate all of the different installations that happened over the course of the co-op. As far as what's next, I would recommend that if you're wanting to get ahead of the curve, you go over and sign up for to become a member at solarunitedneighbors.org/Broomfield before that February 1st date. And then to close, want to bring up a campaign that we are actively involved in to get the US to 30 million solar homes, which will be about the equivalent of 1 in 4 homes going solar. We believe as an organization that this will be a major step in solving 3 urgent issues that we're facing between climate change, economic downturn, and social injustice. I like to make the aside that we don't believe that solar is the only answer to all of these issues, but we do believe that rooftop solar goes a long way in creating cleaner and healthier neighborhoods, that it puts money back in the pockets of working folks that are trying to save, that are trying to meet their own goals. And we believe that creating an energy democracy where folks have the ability to produce and own the production of the electricity that they're consuming will go a long way in addressing social injustices as well. If you're interested in learning more, you can see these 3 steps here. I recommend that you check us out online. As far as our presentation goes, that is it for the night. As mentioned, my name is Tanner Simeon Cox. If you want to reach out, you have any questions after this, feel free to shoot an email over to coteam@solarunitedneighbors.org. We'll save the chat, be sure that we answer all of your questions. And I'm gonna scroll through here really quick after I stop screen sharing. Actually, I'll leave this on here for a minute so you all can get the email down if you need to. And I believe that Vincent has been doing an excellent job at answering all of your questions.
Burton St. John III said, if we accept an installer's bid, what is the time lag between acceptance and installation? Tanner, would you say that usually it's about 2 to 3 months in this area?
Yeah, yeah, that's typically what we see, is about 2 to 3 months. Yeah.
And typically in the winter, the demand isn't as high because folks aren't really thinking about home improvements, especially externally.
Yeah.
Richard asked, can a new roof purchase be rolled into the installation price? Also, does the co-op have any recommendations for getting energy efficiency improvements in before installing solar? So I don't think that it couldn't be rolled into the installation price, but it would not qualify for the tax credit. Even if you're getting a new roof specifically to go solar, you still can. What we have heard, not official tax advice, is that it would not qualify. And then in terms of recommendations for energy efficiency improvements, yeah, especially if you have more limited roof space, energy efficiency is always a great first step. Rewiring America has this great new IRA calculator where you can enter your location and income and see what tax credits or incentives that you would be eligible for specifically for energy efficiency measures. And so yeah, energy efficiency is good. Dan Montez asks, does the 30% federal tax credit also apply to a community solar farm project. Yes, so it's, I'll actually, Tanner, do you want to take a stab at this? But if it's commercially owned, then for sure. I'm not sure what tax credits are applicable for the utility side.
Yeah, I would have to dig a little more into that as well. If the question is about buying into a share of a community solar farm project, then I don't believe that you buying into a share would make you eligible for the 30% federal tax credit. But again, as Vincent said, this is our working knowledge. We are not, accountants, and so we don't handle those as professional advice, and would definitely recommend you reaching out to people that are experts in that field.
Yeah, certainly if you're signing up for a community solar subscription through the utility, you would not qualify for this. Also, if you sign up with a third-party ownership model, such as a lease or a PPA, especially a PPA, you do not qualify for the tax credit, because that's one of the ways that the owner of the system gets a higher payback upfront, is they're the system owner, so they get to monetize the tax credit. Also, accelerated depreciation. Are there any external concerns with tariffs that could impact incentives, credits, or availability of panels in the near future? I would say that the tariff concerns were really common like 2+ years ago, 2 to 3 or 3.5 years ago, with tariffs on products coming from certain countries in Asia. But there, and then there certainly has been a consolidation in the market in terms of available product offerings since then. But generally speaking, I don't think we've seen a huge spike in cost. Nick said, I heard that installers get a 10% rebate if installing predominantly US manufacturers. Anything in the co-op helping pass those savings on to homeowners. So my understanding of the IRA is that you would get a 10% rebate if installing US made panels or any other equipment, balance of system equipment. I do not know if that is and we can look into this, I do not know if that is something that the homeowner would apply for, like a new tax form that you would do on your individual taxes, or if, like you say, it's just a rebate. So that is certainly something that we can look into. Thomas says, when I purchased my panels, I was limited to a system that was only 100% of my annual usage. Is this limitation still in effect? I think it's maybe 125, Tanner.
The answer that I have to that right now is that I'm doing some digging. There was, as far as I'm aware, it's still limited at 120%. But doing some digging to see if there's another answer to that right now. If you want to, Thomas, send an email to the address that I put in the chat, we can talk offline about that.
Gary asks, how hail resistant are solar panels? So if not personally owned, what is the typical product warranty? Or if personally owned, what is the typical product warranty? So the product warranty is for most panels 25 years, but sometimes it can go down to 15 on kind of like a lower tier panel. And then in terms of how hail resistant they are, I know that they do test the structure of the module with certain balls of ice, like at a certain millimeter thickness, and they shoot them at a certain speed. But obviously, the manufacturer draws a line somewhere between what is financially prudent in terms of overbuilding something and what is likely to happen in the world. I mean, certainly panels do get destroyed by hail, but it should be covered by your homeowner's insurance. Because the product warranty specifically is defects that are related to the manufacturing process, and not like damage external. Any possible new state incentives on the horizon? What do you think, Tanner?
Yeah, so Colorado has a more municipal focused incentive route that they're doing. They have some information on the Colorado Energy Office's website about our IRA implementation in the state, which Vincent, if you're able to find that quickly, that's great. If not, I can try and dig for it in just a second. But as of right now, with this current co-op, there isn't anything through Broomfield that is on the books, but there are other projects we're working on in different parts of the state to develop incentive programs and rebates and other things like that.
Thomas asked, and if you could find that, Tanner, that'd be great. Thomas asked, I purchased an electric vehicle and spent a whole year charging at home, which increased the amount of panels I was eligible for. Yeah, so the utility websites may even have calculators on what the average electric vehicle would do in terms of increasing your energy demand. So certainly if you, and then that is where oversizing your system can be helpful if you're thinking about getting solar installed on your roof and also buying an electric vehicle. If you have the space and it's in your budget, it may be prudent to do 120% because your electricity usage will be going up. However, if you're charging at night, there will be diminishing returns with solar because of the net metering characteristics of the rate structure. Thank you for the comment, Mark. And Nick is saying, I understand that Excel forces me onto a TOU rate plan when going solar. Does that mean my solar credit also is credited based on the time of export? Yes. Okay. These are all great questions.
And we are nearing 7 o'clock. So I want to respect your all's time. I can't see that. If our roof can't support 200 square feet of solar, is it still worth doing? So that is a good question. And that will be a more individual conversation. What will happen, and maybe Vincent, you can speak to this as well, but whenever we are doing a roof review, if your roof does not have at least 200 square feet of space available, we will put basically an asterisk next to your name saying that that's something that needs to be explored further. And then whenever an installer is selected, they'll be able to see that highlight and they'll be able to see your particular case. In some cases, they will do an in-person site visit to actually take a look on the ground of what your roof looks like, or if there's any other space to do it. And that will be sort of a final conversation that you're able to close out with the installer, because they'll be able to, still quote you on what it would look like. Vincent, is there anything that you would add to that?
I think you can probably get up to maybe 1.2 kilowatts of solar for every 100 square feet. And the reason why we say 200 square feet of contiguous space is because usually installers bottom out at a system size of 2 kilowatts. The smaller that you go, the more the fixed costs of going solar eat into your potential profit margin or your savings potential, because a smaller system just won't generate as much electricity. And so it usually comes down to the installer wanting to be able to sell you something that, one, is a good amount of profit for their time, but also something that is going to be worth the investment.
Thank you, Vincent. With that, I do think that we are going to wrap up for the night. I am putting the email in the chat one more time if you want to reach out to us. And be sure I spelled that correctly. I did. If you have any other questions, feel free to shoot them our way. We will be around Otherwise, I really appreciate all of you for coming out tonight and having a chat with us for a little bit, and hope to see you around as we work through the rest of this co-op together. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a good
Thanks,
night.
Tanner.
Mhm.